No one needs extra credit in this class. Everyone gets an A. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so talk a little bit about Sgraffito and Inlay. I've got a few examples of Inlay here in front of us. This is a cup I showed you guys the other day. So this is a Julia Galloway piece where she carved into the porcelain when it was like late leather hard with an X-Acto knife. Okay, and then once the piece has been bisque fired, that's the first firing, it's called bisque firing, she'll apply a blue slip to the piece and then wash it off or scrape it away. Some people actually, Julia might apply it while the piece is still leather hard. I can't remember. Some people do apply the color when the piece, before the piece has actually been fired. I'll have to look at that, but I like to usually do it after it's been fired. So there's a couple different ways to approach it. So that's a Galloway piece. This is an old Krista Assad piece. So again, just carved, blue underglaze, I believe, is applied and then wiped away. So the underglaze will stay into the recessed areas. And this is one of our very own. She just graduated a couple years ago. Now she's just working as a full-time potter, which is great. This is Kelly Beach. There's a startup company here that was looking for a production potter, and they hired her to just make pots. She does exactly what you're doing right now, all day, every day. Maybe not every day, but a few days a week at least. So this is Inlay. So she carved these flowers. I don't know the names of them right offhand. Then applied different colors of underglaze in different areas, right? And then wiped those away. And then you see the clear glaze over top of it. So that's a Kelly Beach piece. Got a few of hers actually. As far as Sgraffito, I actually really don't have any. I guess this is kind of like Sgraffito. And this is also Inlay. So this is a really good example of both of these actually. These are Steve Lee cups. Similar design, that's what I liked about these. That's why I bought them, because I thought they were kind of like matching cups. Really appreciate like the blue. And these are carved very similarly to Julia Galloway, adding a blue slip, I believe, and scraping that away or washing it off with a wet sponge. So this is similar but different. So my piece here, I'll show you guys this here shortly. My piece here has a very similar thing where I've thrown this cup, something I threw this morning. I trimmed it after I did the other trimming demo a little bit ago. I put a white slip over top of it called fish sauce. It is not fish sauce that goes into your food by any means. I did not name it. I don't know why it's called that. It might smell like fish sauce over time. Get a little stinky, but whatever. It's really good. It's like a porcelain slip. Goes on leather hard work. Okay, you want to make sure you apply this white slip to leather hard work. If you apply it to bisque pieces, it's going to flake off and just create a mess and not stay on. So some things need to go on at very specific stages. Underglaze can go on leather hard to bone dry and bisque pieces. So that's the great versatility of our underglazes that we have. Okay, we got several colors, probably about 8, maybe 9 or 10 colors of our underglaze. I can show you guys more of those over in the underglaze area. But the white slip that I really like to use is the fish sauce, okay? And it can only go on leather hardware. It can be fired all the way to cone 10. And we have several times with it. I've got some pieces over in my office I can show you. So I'm going to carve into this, do a little Sgraffito with it. This was a demo piece from a couple years ago. I was just sitting here collecting dust. I was really into tennis shoes, Jordans at some point. So this was kind of a demo piece from a while ago. So I started to do a little Sgraffito where you brush the color on and then you scrape it away, and that is Sgraffito. Okay, so you can create imagery by carving that away, and then you're left with the color of whatever it is that you used. Okay, so it can be any of our colors. Some of our colors look great at cone 10. We're going to be firing most of our stuff to cone 10. Some of our colors completely wash out, like yellow turns white, really. So speak to me first before you actually use some of these, thinking that they're going to be very vibrant, rich colors. Some of them get really, really muted at high fire. So this is what Sgraffito can kind of do. This is Inlay. So one thing that I like to do, if I'm going to carve away, so I'm going to do kind of like a version of Sgraffito. I like to use any of the carving tools that come in our kits. So you guys might have, you might see some of these around. These aren't in your kits. These are great little carving tools. Okay, another little carving tool. Of course, an X-Acto knife. Needle tool is great. Another thing I really like are stylus. This is one I actually picked up at Clay Planet. It's for doing fondant. But they, there are a lot of things like in cake decorating translates really well to ceramics actually. If you really want to make a ceramic cake, we can thicken up some slip and you can pipe it onto your pieces. I've seen a lot of really interesting work like that. So what I'm going to do is, this is leather hard, okay? And I think that's really important to know. You want to do your carving usually when it's like light leather hard. If you do it too soon and the piece is really soft and wet, you're going to get a lot of, well, possibly warpage, by handling the piece, because you really need to handle it and hold it in your hand and move it around. So your piece is going to warp. Also, it's not going to be a very clean line. One thing you can do to get really, really clean lines, if you want to make very straight lines, like say what Julie Galloway's done here, you can add wax resist to the outside of your piece and then carve into it. And I'll show you guys what that wax resist is later. If you put wax on your piece and then carve into it, you get really nice, crisp, clean lines, and it doesn't get like very fuzzy at all. But I like to use these stylus. This is a really wide one, and all you have to do is just kind of scrape away at it. So I'm going to just kind of draw a geometric form on here. And you can see the color of the clay already coming through, right? So remember, this is a stoneware. When this is fired, this clay, if I don't put any glaze on it, it's going to be brown. In fact, it's going to be, I don't have any of the cups out, but it's going to be very similar to this. Okay, it's kind of like a buff stoneware. It's actually a little more orange. Our clay is a little more orange than this. Once you guys start using the B-mix, the B-mix is going to be more like this. Okay, it's like a grayish white. So, whereas these are like porcelain, so they're very white. So, the white will be, or the slip is going to be very white, and then the clay underneath will be more of like an orange. So, if I just draw, something on here, I'm just going to draw something really simple. You can, if you want to draw something very specific, you can print out things, use tracing paper, trace over top of some images, place that tracing paper on here, trace around that, or draw over top of it with like a needle tool. If I had an image, I could just draw over top of it. It'll leave an impression on the clay, and then you can carve that away. Okay, which is a really cool thing. So I'm just making a cube. Kind of like a really basic version of Sgraffito, but you can do really like full fleshed out versions. There's a couple artists that do it really, really well. One of them is Kathy King. Another one I really like is Sue Terrell. Okay. And for Inlay, Steve Lee. And Julia Galloway. So, yeah, so we're kind of at the point where I'll let this dry, fire it, glaze it. If I use a translucent glaze like this, right? This is like a green celadon. the Celadon will fill in this area a little bit more. It'll get a little darker. It'll be much more white and lighter color over top of the white part. Okay, it's a really great way to have more dynamic surface design, right? Surface areas by doing something very simple and basic like that. And the same with Inlay can make some really great, interesting surfaces. The last thing I want to talk about is the shellac. So with shellac, this is another thing Julie Galloway also did a little bit of shellac on here. Did I bring my shellac cup in? Joe, do you mind grabbing it real quick? I think it's still outside. This is also a shellac. This is from a demo a while back. I said it's like little X's and O's, little tic-tac-toe board. So you're brushing the shellac over top of the clay when it's bone dry. Okay, it needs to go on bone dry. Then you need to let the shellac dry fully. He's finding it. And then take a wet sponge and you wipe away. Are you not seeing it? Did I bring it in? Let's make it for a really good YouTube video. We'll find it. Okay.
It's over there.
You see it? Oh, yeah. Do you mind grabbing it? I did bring it in. This is gonna be like, 4-star YouTube video right here. What's that?
It's combo.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna try it a little bit. So, you might grab that sponge. I have the sponge with it and everything. I was ready, except for it's in the wrong spot. So, I just brushed the shellac on. It's not so pronounced on here because I didn't really wipe away a whole lot, but can you guys see that? The imagery? Thanks, Joe. All right, so I'm gonna take a wet sponge and I'm gonna just wipe this away. So the shellac will repel the water, right? And when I start to wipe this away, I'm just gonna take off like the top layer of bone dry clay, and the shellac protects the clay, and so I'm gonna have like a raised area right there, right? And so you can get some really interesting like textures. Really wiping that away. Give it a little more water. I'm only going to go in like the dry areas. So where the shellac's a little thicker, it takes a little longer. I think I shellacked this almost an hour ago, and it's still not fully dry. It's been sitting out in the sun. Some people I've seen where they'll do one design with the shellac white, and they'll shellac some more, get some really interesting like 3 layers of clay essentially, and they'll use like translucent glazes and create a lot more variables that way, or varied surface at least. So you kind of see, start to pull that away. Shellac protects the clay, so it's going to be raised. And if you make really thick work, this can be a lot of fun. So. Just a few different ways of kind of experimenting with surface texture, okay? So with your cups, what I'd like for you guys to do is try at least 1 or 2 of these, with Sgraffito, the Inlay, or the shellac. You got 5 cups due the Wednesday after next. So it's actually, or I guess they're due the Monday after next Wednesday, whatever the date is. It's on the syllabus. Check the syllabus. All right, thank you so much.